looked at me squarely in the eye and said, young man, and I was then, he said, stay with it, never quit. And this is my message to you, Toastmasters, this morning. You have in your hands a wonderful opportunity to broaden your life, to enrich your life through education and through friendships. And my admonition to you is the same as Ralph Smedley gave me, never quit. Quitting is worse than failing. And as I look back over my 57 years of Toastmaster membership, November the 17th, 1955, when I walked into the Seal Beach Toastmasters Club, not knowing anyone or why I knew I was there and why I wanted to leave. But nonetheless, from that first meeting in November of 1957, the opportunities that have come my way because of my involvement in Toastmasters are without measure and without value. I look back on a few of them. One of them was, in my early days in Toastmasters, I did a lot of announcing. Well, I still do a lot of announcing. And I had the opportunity in the Fiesta Parade here in Santa Barbara to introduce the governor of California. And I remember the words that I used because I was the first announcer of 20 of them along State Street and up Chapala. And I wanted to be the first in line so I could leave early. Because the parade's about 2.5 hours. Anyway, the governor of California always leads the parade in a big limousine and waving to everybody. And my introduction went like this. My fellow Santa Barbans, it is my honor to present to you the governor of all of California, His Excellency, the Honorable Ronald Reagan. And you know, he waved at me. He didn't say anything, but he waved at me. And the crowd applauded. I don't know whether they were applauding me or the governor. But nonetheless, I thought that was a good opportunity for me. And then for years, I had a weekly radio program here in Ventura on KOVA FM, and it was Don Ensch and the Food and Farm program. That's when I was heavily involved in the production of citrus. And I would give farm news, interview farm leaders that came to the town, and give my editorials perhaps once a week. Well, as some of you may have an idea, I'm a little to the right. I'm a little to the right. And once a week I would give editorials as it related to agriculture. And they had leanings to them. They had leanings to them. And I would get telephone calls after the program. And the one that I remember the most was when the owner of the station, Fred Hall, I don't know if any of you remember Fred Hall, called me in. He said, Don, you've got to give both sides of the issue in an editorial. You know what my response was? There's only one side, Fred, and that's fine. And it didn't kick me off the air. But nonetheless, it was a wonderful experience having a radio program of about 10 to 15 minutes every morning, 5 mornings a week. And then, in addition to that, in my Toastmaster career, I've told you of this, when in 1970 I was a finalist of the World Champion of Public Speaking in Calgary. Well, you know those Canadians didn't know a good speaker. So I did not win. But the experience of being involved in those 7 steps leading up to the international were priceless. No measure of money could buy them. And then these other experiences was well, announcing the Fiesta Parade. That's been a wonderful experience for 35 years, and I enjoy that very much. I remember one time about 8 years ago, there was a brawl right in front of my stand. And I had to quiet those guys down, and they were bigger than I was. And one of them looked at me and said, watch it, punk. And anyway, a motorcycle cop came by, and I called the cop over, and he took care of the rest of it. But those are wonderful experiences, leadership experiences. And in addition to the Fiesta Parade, oftentimes I'll go somewhere, and people will ask me to, will you announce this? Will you narrate this? And I have always learned from what I have heard from my father so many years ago. He said, young man, they call me young man, they don't do that anymore.
Still do.
He said, young man, when opportunity knocks, say yes. Then figure out how you're going to do it. You know, that's pretty darn good. And Lou, you followed that rule this morning. Opportunity knocks, you said yes. You could have said no or walked out the door. But nonetheless, and that has stuck with me all of these years when opportunity knocks, no matter how difficult it may be, no matter how maybe not very tasteful, say yes, and then figure out how you're going to do it, and you will always come out on top. The Toastmasters, the thrust of my message this morning is this for each of you. Embrace your Toastmaster career. Embrace your involvement. Learn from it. Put the hard work into it that is necessary, and the commitment, and you will stand as the mountain above the plains. You have my word.